So we're going to open it up to questions in a second, but I thought I'd ask one more question of all of you. And what is the biggest mistake people make? So in investing in scholarships, if you had to, do you have any regrets? What would you do over? And what is the biggest mistake parents make? So let's just go down the line and say, what is the biggest mistake people make in investing?
I think that the biggest mistake is kind of built into the process, which is, you don't know where your kid's going to go to school. It's hard parents don't have a goal. And it's hard to have a goal when the target's moving and you don't know exactly what it's going to look like. You don't know where your kid's going to get in, what it's going to cost. But I think that you can start with, understanding what your family values are about paying for college. So when I ask parents, so how do you guys think about paying for college? Are you going to pay for all of it, or are you going to let the kid take out a bunch of loans, or what are you going to do? And the parents just look at me and they look at each other like, wow, I don't know, we've never really talked about it. And then they tell their story. So, if you've gone to college and you have your own story about how you paid, that tends to trickle down to how you think about, in some form, to how you think about your kids paying for it. So if you paid, you may, Kelly, for example, want to make sure your kids don't pay a dime because it was so hard for you, or you may understand that was very valuable to have skin in the game, not as much.
Yeah, we don't have as much skin.
Right. But I think what I encourage people to do is really try to articulate and write down what it is how you think about what your values are about paying for college. So, for example, we don't want our kids to pay a penny. We want them to have college for free and to have a full college experience without worrying about money. Or we think it's important that they do work study, or that they have work study during the semester plus summer jobs, or have loans. In fact, I think some parents think having debt associated with college is a good thing because they understand it teaches them about paying back loans, developing credit, that kind of thing. But I think it's very important to articulate that, put it in writing, and say, this is how we're thinking about it. Then from there, you can think about how you want to save. Even if you don't know which college is going to be, what the expense is going to be. I think that's kind of the first thing I see. On the other end of the spectrum, for people who have means, who have cash flow or have assets, and they're trying to figure out what to do, and I see this sort of compulsion to, we've got to pay for college. How do we figure out how to pay for college? It's like this social thing. We've all got this, intensity about college, and I'm not so sure that's the right way to think about it. As much as it's expensive and we're trying to encourage people to save, I think you can also get too caught up in doing that. And the challenge is that you have to prioritize. We all have limited resources, right? Anybody here have unlimited resources? Okay, just checking, because we should talk. Right now, we should go in another room. But I'd like to say, and maybe some of you in the room have heard me say before, that there's lots of ways to pay for college. There's only one way to pay for retirement. You have to have, and to pay for retirement, you have to have income or assets, or the lotto numbers or whatever. But you can't make it up. And if you don't have the assets for that, you have to work, right? It's not retirement. It's a different kind of retirement. But college, there's a lot of ways to pay. I clean toilets, right? I worked at Universal Studios. I took out loans. My parents contributed. That all paid for mine. And you all have a story, right? Or we all have different stories. So don't sacrifice your future for your kids, because there's an investment in college that's going to have a return. I know it's kind of analytical, but you're going to put money into it. It's going to return something to your children, life experience, income, whatever it is that you're looking for and they're looking for. So get your priorities straight. Don't get too caught up in it. Make sure you're also saving for retirement. Your first dollar should go into your retirement plan, not your kid's college savings plan. And I think the last thing is that if you are saving, they forget about it. So anybody here ever set up a savings plan for something and then forgotten about it, and like 5 years later you're still saving the same amount of money? Okay, maybe you've gotten raises, your income's higher, your financial situation's changed, but you're still saving $50 a month. And so we encourage people to accelerate their savings, to look for opportunities to find money. If you get a raise at work, think about bumping up the savings $25 a month, whatever it is. You know, and so if you're compounding accelerating savings, that makes a big difference.
Yeah, Kelly and I just had this conversation because I said when she's so disciplined at paying down her debt, when she pays it off, she should take that same amount and invest it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
It's
and just
sound money.
continue to, she can have a house in no time.
Absolutely. So those are the three things, like just set your goals, know what your values are, prioritize, make sure you've got your priorities straight, and then if you are savings, make sure you're staying on top of it, review it once a year or something.
Okay, Nancy, what mistakes do you, have you made that you wish you could do different, or what mistakes do you see, parents making in the?
Well, I'm gonna piggyback, sorry, on a couple of things that I just overheard over here is that not planning and not having, there's a couple things I'd say. One is not planning. Tuition is coming faster than you think. Regardless of what grade your student's in, it's coming faster than you think. And there's very many families, partly from misinformation, probably from just not wanting to look, not wanting to think about it. May 1st is when you have to declare what school you're going to go to. I get calls, I have to say almost most of my calls, not really, but a huge chunk between February and April 29th, right?
I need a scholarship.
Right? Like, I mean, I'm good, I'm not that good. So, at that point, and also with that, thinking that your student can't pull out a merit scholarship, not really understanding it, not thinking that your student's achievements are enough, and not knowing how they work, and not doing things soon enough. It's really no joke. In middle school, it really sets this tone for what's going to happen in college. Study skills, activities, the word college, that you're going to go to college, trickling into conversation about having paid for college. All that starts young, and it builds. Our students don't get really great study skills later, unless they've made a mistake and they're trying to correct it. I get students doing that as well. So it's planning early and knowing also on the values of it. I have families that come in and there's a whole range of different reasons you might want to use scholarships. And what is your goal with scholarships? Do you want to pay as little as you can for college? In which case, put schools on your list that your student's going to win the most money from. And those families, if you're being realistic, then you're not looking at your dream schools for that. You're looking at schools that are hopefully good schools, but that are most affordable. On the other side of that, I work with affluent families that want their students to have skin in the game, want to keep their money invested, right? They don't want to change their lifestyle, they want to keep it moving, and they want their student to help pay for college. But I would say, actually, at the very base of it all, because I'm thinking about it for myself, because my business started because I was doing this for myself, is I think a lot of us feel guilty that we can't just write a check.
Okay, Kelly, so what do you wish you knew then? And what would you have regrets or about your loans, or what would you have done differently?
I wish my senior year of high school, I had taken the time to think for myself and quiet all the noise about college. Good noise, bad noise, everything. All the pressure that is put on a high school senior, and I thought about what I wanted in the end. What is my end goal? At the time, my whole life up to that point had been, I want to move to New York and act. Is this school, knowing the training that the prestigious training that there was there, is the price tag going to help me get to that goal? In my case, no. And you don't think about that as a senior, and you think you have to go to college. Now, I know this is a little, maybe a little controversial, but maybe the right thing for me would have been to move to New York and just start training there and not get a degree. I know my friends that I know, but my friends, I know, but my friends that decided to do that are doing it. They're acting. They're living their dream. So my advice to parents would be to just support your child no matter what they choose to pursue. My sister went to school for animation, so art. We both were artists. So my mom was like, people looking at her like she's crazy. But my sister is now an animator at Sony. and she's making good money as an artist. So I would just ask that you support your child, and I am so thankful for my very rich liberal arts education that I have, and it made me a better accountant. Surprise, it made me a better person. So I don't regret that. I don't. Good.
Well, we're personally happy that you landed.
Everything else.
It's all about me, so. What about you, Dad? Do people make common mistakes, parents dealing with the kids once they're away, or is there any surprises about when they come home for breaks or things like that?
Yeah, I think that one of the things that we've seen and what I personally experienced is that we don't understand that our relationship is really changing. That our child, they can't be going to college already, really? What? That they really, if you give them the space, they will step up to the plate. I mean, my daughter who could never get up with her alarm clock before going to college. I mean, I'm stressed about, she's going to miss every class. They handle it. And I think that we as parents, we get so wrapped up in, and can they do it, and they're not going to do their laundry, and we're so worried about all those things that I think that we forget to take a step back and realize they are becoming adults, and it's sort of a little bit of a rite of passage that they have to go through these steps on their own, and they'll be okay, and if they need to figure out how to do their laundry, you'll be the first person they call. And to remember that they're experiencing independence too, and so when they do come home for that first college break, we as parents, it's back to the way it was, they're home, and everybody's happy. It's not. They've just been sort of free, no parental supervision for all that time. They come back into your home, and there's a lot of discussions that need to take place. Are they going to call you when they're out all night with their friends? Because they never have to.
My rules, don't you say?
Well, I mean, a little bit of, don't be afraid, really. I mean, in our house, we don't have a curfew, but there's respect,
Right.
and there's the family, and we're not going to have people coming in and out of the house all hours of the night. And so it's different, and they have to get used to your rules, and you have to decide what your rules are going to be, and it's a transition period for them and for us. And I think that's really the most difficult place for parents. And so, we try to help with our information, giving resources, giving parents, other parents to talk to who are going through the same thing, to experience, to understand that they're not alone, that, we learn from each other. We encourage, we have guest writers that put their stories on our website that resonate with a lot of other readers. And just to point out, for the men in the room, we are nosy moms, because my partner and I are moms, but we are for the parents. The website is information for dads, moms, grandparents, caregivers, whoever's involved.
So I think the theme that I'm hearing, and it's very important, the communication early on, like talk to your kids about college, how are we going to pay for it, what do you want to do, what do you want to volunteer, and what's available out there, what does it mean to get a loan, and what are the rules when we come back. So I'm going to open up the floor to questions now. So if we didn't cover something, or if any of you have something to say that I didn't ask you about, let's open it up. Yes.
Question for, I guess, Nancy and Kelly, kind of a combination question. Most of the summer, my girlfriend went to Chile, got her undergraduate degree. Of course, it was an undergraduate degree you can't really get any real paying job with, so now she's in the process of going to graduate school so she can get a real job down there. Are there scholarships for grad programs or other? What resources are there? Because most of them talk about undergrad programs, those are kind of more open to everyone. What do you have for grad students? And at the same time, she's at probably like $40,000 to $50,000 in debt right now. What strategy can I try to get her to start going with now so it's not 80 to 100 by she's finally done?
Do you want me to start with the first one? Sure. So there's definitely graduate school scholarships, and with that, I'll say that, I'll back up for a second. When your student goes off to college for the first year, the scholarship search is not over. I mean, shouldn't is a judgment word, I don't mean that word, but it doesn't need to be over. Money to be had, and also once you're in a school, sometimes scholarships come up that weren't available to freshmen. So it's not over till it's over, till you have the degree in hand. That's true also with graduate school scholarships. That's not my specialty. I've been asked to do law school and such. I just want to, focus more on this for now. But there are. You can also talk to the universities and see what they recommend. There's databases, there's books, there's organizations. One way I find scholarships, and when I find as much as $200,000 in private scholarships for each student, they have to win it and apply for it, but I can find it. But there's lots of ways to do that. But the same way, one of the ways to do it is to do an internet search. So you could have your girlfriend, what is she studying?
She started linguistics, she's doing speech language pathology.
Okay, so speech language merit scholarships. If indeed she's looking at merit, if you think there's need involved, then I would take out the word merit. There's a very big difference when you're looking at scholarships, whether it's merit or whether it's not. So if you look for scholarships in general and you only qualify for merit, you're going to get a lot that aren't going to apply. So I would do that, and I would look at other things she's done and put them all into the Google search in different combinations, all different directions. And then the books, and then different schools. It's not over till you have the degree in hand. With that said, you cannot use a scholarship to pay off a loan. I've been called on that before. Can you? No.
That's interesting.
Good to know.
Yeah, we wish. My advice would be to not be afraid to wait a year and save so that she can pay as much cash as possible. But if she did have to take out the loan, I took loans out for living expenses as well because that's something I needed to do, but I could have done it cheaper. I would take the least amount of loans out as possible and take the most federal loans, like I said, as you can. And I would just start saving. My boyfriend and I, our date nights are Taco Bell and the library movie. But we're working really hard, both of us, at paying down our debt, and you can definitely be a good support system for her and a cheerleader. So, but yeah, not be afraid to wait a year. I don't know what her situation is, but.
Well, I was just gonna say, Kelly mentioned it too, but, I knew when Kelly was going to this college that it was gonna be a huge stretch and I was gonna be involved in just co-sign stuff. But I know Kelly. I knew Kelly was gonna do it. I knew Kelly was gonna pay off the loan. Now her sister, who I love dearly, and she made the same choice. She's so pretty. I would have been very concerned with a whole different thought process and conversation. So it really depends on the kids too, because it's a big thing. It shows up on my credit reports. It shows up on. So it's a big deal to co-sign.
Well, we have a friend that we know who went to NYU, got into this College of Performing Arts and had to go. It's like you can't not go when you get into that school. And she got all kinds of debt, and her grandmother co-signed. They call grandma all the time. Where's the money?
She just buried the bills.
Yeah, she
for 5 years.
Yeah. So anyway, the loans are going to be.
I have a couple of questions. One, does anybody have opinions about sororities and fraternity? I know when I went away to college, I couldn't afford a sorority. And then secondly, do you have any opinion about if a kid is not doing well, do you pull them out and bring them back and tell them time to go into college?
Okay, I can tackle a little bit of that. Okay, on the sororities and fraternities, there is a fee, there's a cost. There's a lot of negative publicity in the news about what's going on. There's a lot of positives about them too. My daughter happened to join a sorority. It was a very negative experience at first. It's very positive now. But you have to know your kid. It's very personal, and she's made a decision. She knows it's expensive, that she's going to use her summer work savings to pay for that. On the other front, I do actually have a friend who had to pull their kid out. There is academic requirements at the colleges that put them on probation, and And it's also good to have some discussions about what your expectations as a family are, because if you're paying all this money, they're expected to live up to a certain, GPA or do certain kinds of work. And, that's something that you might have to sit down and have a discussion about whether they're committed to it or not. One of the things you might want to look into also is what the tuition refund policies are from the colleges, because if kids do get in trouble and need to leave in the middle of the semester or the middle of the quarter for a variety of reasons, you'll want to know ahead of time what the school policies are on that.
So Mike, did you have a question?
I did. So, there's all this worry about starting your kids too early, too young, and sort of pre-professionalism and focusing too much on getting to college to make money and everything. And
The pressure that Kelly was talking about.
yeah, that same pressure. So I'm just wondering if you, I guess, maybe from Danny, from your experience, I know you were involved with your kids and their friends and stuff, and your kids were high achievers, and then Nancy with consulting with families, if there's like a time to start. Like you start in middle school talking about what you talked about. My daughter's answer question was, what do I do? And you said volunteer, start volunteering. But at what age, in your experience, do you start really building the resume, but is really thinking about, sort of lining things up for college?
Well, I'll start. Okay, well, first I want to say this really clearly, that I think volunteering has many benefits, not just college. So I think it's good for the world, it's good for character, it's good for giving back, it's good for many, many things. I wouldn't say it's just to give and, use it in that sense. I think anything we can do to help our students figure out who they are, whether they really should or shouldn't go to college, what they're interested in. I think that students that are passionate about something, whether it's sports or volunteering or writing or horses or whatever it is, less distracted by other things, feel purposeful, more hang out with kids that have the same values, don't feel lost. Grades matter, sure. As much as I help my clients figure out what they want to study by hands-on experience in it, so you don't flip around on majors, I'm not suggesting at 13 you have to know what you're going to do. But if you do, I would nurture it. So I think it's about being flexible, and understanding that the math class your student takes as a sixth grader will affect what they take in college, in high school, which affects whether they're going to take AP. So I think it's just exposing them to different things and help them figure out who they are, because that's going to apply all through their life.
And I would just add that, you might have a kid who has no idea what they want to do and has no passions, which was my son, who's a super achiever. We were as parents trying to do that, trying to, you put him in, Little League, and you put him in basketball, and you put him in this and that, and trying to get something, what's going to stick. And in his area, nothing really stuck. Taekwondo, that stuck, which, okay, good. So you find something, but, I remember started high school, and there was no direction of passion of anything. And I was worried. I didn't know what was going to happen. What do I do? And I couldn't really push him. And you know what? He found his passion in high school was music. And he got so into it. And I watched it, and I wasn't involved. And it was really sort of the same kind of thing. Let him touch different things, and they might blossom later. So every kid's different. I think all you can do is know your kids, start early, don't push. I mean, if she thinks she wants to be a vet, get involved with animals, and she might decide, that's not what I want to do.
They're dirty.
She's going to feed her own
A
pet.
lot of my kid at 13 was gonna, robotics was his thing, and he was gonna build roller coasters, and then the next class that was offered at school wasn't challenging enough, and he lost interest.
I think there's a danger too in pushing kids too hard, and my niece is a good example of this. She was one of these really, really high overachiever kids, went to every AP class. She started college as a sophomore and a half. She was almost, through her second year based on her AP. She totally burned out in college. She hated school. She she could have done, like, she really is a brilliant kid. She worked at Starbucks for 5 years because she took a year off from college because she was burned out from the high school experience and the pressure and this like constant competition. So, just kind of keep that in mind that there's a burnout factor for the kids.
Also, that as it relates to finances, think about when you use your dollars that you've set aside for college. So you may not want the dollars that you saved to be used for freshman year.
Yeah.
You may want to let them go,
Test the waters.
Yeah, see, because, you can use all your money, they can pay for the first couple of years of college and they can burn out and walk away and invested, tens of thousands of dollars.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
So,
Now, Christy, Kelly's twin, wanted to be a tattoo artist. She became an animator, but February's looking pretty good.
I was just going to ask to everyone, my daughter started senior year this morning. And this saying, we talked about college for probably the last 7 years of her life. It's all been about, what are you doing, what's your volunteer work. And every once in a while she throws out, maybe I'll take a year off before I go.
dun, dun, dun.
I'll tell you.
So I just wondered if anybody's had experience with that.
It's becoming more and more popular and accepted, and several schools, including Tufts, where my son went to school, is offering a paid gap year to students. There are other colleges offering this.
Wow.
So you apply to the school, and that first year is a deferred, and you take the year off, and they pay for it. There are these programs, they're
What do you mean
unbelievable.
they pay for? I'm sorry.
They will,
For
yes,
abroad.
they will pay, they have an amount, a stipend
To
amount,
do something productive.
to go and grow and learn and get that experience, because they're finding that the students are more likely to stay in school. They're much more mature when they come back, and so it's an investment by the colleges. And there are these programs that you should look into. And you could type in even to Google, gap year, college programs. My partner on Nosy Moms, her son is starting at Northeastern, this fall. And they have this new, it's called NUN program. And so he's going to London for his first semester. He leaves Monday. And so the students go abroad right away, then they come to campus in the spring or in the winter. And there are more and more colleges doing that also, because they feel like it's a really great thing. And I would really encourage you to look into
See my
it.
shoulders?
Yeah.
It's really.
I was sad, my son took a gap year, and I don't know that he ended up going to Berkeley, and he took the year off after high school, and I don't think he was ready. I really don't think he was ready to go away. It would have been a lot different experience for him, I think, if he went when he graduated high school. So, and he, got a degree and is working and great.
And I think the pressure in high school now is so different than it was when we went to school. There's a lot of pressure, especially Oak Park, and it's ridiculous,
I had one
to achieve and stuff. It's
Yeah,
just,
where are you going? What are you doing?
yeah, exactly. So I think the pressure, it's like, and then you can just push yourself.
And I think also if the kid doesn't know what they want to do,
Right.
community
Let
college.
them work at Starbucks,
Yeah.
that's what they don't want to do after that year.
Yeah, they all
Go to community
But
college
they all
for
have
a
to
year.
take all the basic stuff anyway,
Yes.
so why not save the money and send them, my nephew did that, he went to 2 years at Moore Park, got into UCLA and going to grad school now, so.
Yeah.
It's
It
okay.
can be done, and it's not.
But just don't let the noise, like,
Yeah.
oh, you're only going to Moore Park, that becomes like the noise you hear, and it's like, oh, like people are disappointed in you or something.
Right. Can I say something about the noise? Especially as you get further into this process, there is a lot of noise, and it's really easy to think that you're not doing as much as the next parent, and your student isn't doing as well as the next student. There's a lot of untruths about what scores other kids got, what scholarships
schools they
they
got
got.
Yeah.
The noise is sometimes fake noise, in a sense, and it's really easy to think that you're not doing enough, your student's not doing enough, they get all flipped out on what Johnny got in their SAT. I didn't get that.
Yeah. Didn't we all do that when they were babies even?
Yeah.
So I just
It's the same thing.
encourage them, yeah.
The other thing I was gonna say too, which we had is, there were so many of these people coming out saying, well, I'm gonna help you get all these loans and stuff, all these businesses that came out and said, I'm gonna help you get scholarships and loans and, all this stuff. And you just didn't know what was right, but you have a story that's been proven, you've written a book. There wasn't that kind of stuff out there where so you just, you don't know, and they want you to pay them $2,000 to do whatever, and, why am I gonna pay you $2,000? I don't even know if you can do anything.
I took my son to see a college counselor, the older one, and, cause, I thought that's what you need to do, and we go, and she tells us all this stuff, and she wants, whatever she wanted for the fee, and then we walked out, and Jason goes, Mom, she just told us everything I already knew, like, I already knew all that. Oh, okay, so, I think you gotta do it. Yeah. Did you have a question?
Well, yeah, it's kind of in line with what we were just talking about. What are a package that this service would cost to become a client? Is it based on what you raise, else raise?
That's me.
Every client's different, every need is different, so it's hard to just say it. So I'd rather talk to whomever privately, because there's different services, we know what you need, and I just want to give information today, but I'm thrilled to talk to you.
So, we, always, do we have one more question?
Yeah.
Yes.
Are merit-based based on like sports, or is it always academic?
It's anything but financial need.
Okay.
There are scholarships for lefties, right? There are scholarships for writing a great essay about world peace. There's scholarships about baking a great apple pie. There's photography scholarships. There are scholarships where your student can submit a video, which is great for kids who don't like to write.
Water skiing?
There's everything, so merit is anything based on achievement other than someone's finances. It could be, there probably is. There probably is. There's one There's 1.5 million private merit scholarships. And then there's money from colleges, which is different, there's advantages to each, but it's anything but finances. So there's grades, there's all kinds of things.
Now Kelly just did, what, was it 2 weeks before the end of high school? She applied for a bunch, and she got every single one, she got $3,500. Now had she started, like you say, oh my God, you just can't, I don't even think about it.
No one applied.
There's some money left on the table.
Yeah, also the smaller scholarships can be better because they're less attractive. Coca-Cola gets 100,000 applications for their scholarship. The smaller ones have less competition. But no one wins them all, so that's awesome. No, that's really awesome.
She thinks so.
Okay, well that's,
So do you have to be accepted at a school? When do you start applying for the scholarship?
This is a really good question, okay, so there's money that comes from colleges, and then there's private sources. The colleges want to give your student money because they really want them to pick they want your student after school. They've got great grades, they're a poet, whatever it is they want, they're a wrestler, whatever it is, they want your students. So the ideal thing is to go down both sides, to go pursue the scholarships from colleges, adding some schools to your list that will give you money, and then some will give you money automatically. Indiana, for example. You apply by November 1st, your student's admitted, they're automatically considered for merit scholarships without another application. Indiana might then also have other scholarships, the presidential scholarship and this scholarship that you do apply for. But the easiest ones to win are the ones you don't make a separate application for. A friend of mine's a college counselor, and she loves when I say the easiest way to win the most money from a college is to be overqualified. Have higher test scores and GPA than their average as the easiest way to get the most money. So there's money from colleges. The great thing is they're usually renewable if you keep up a certain GPA, but you need to know what that GPA is. There might be other requirements, volunteering or whatever else it might be. And they're renewable, so that can be a lot of money. Rebecca got was offered $90,000 from GW. That's a lot. Kayla's at 54 right now from Ohio. The negative is you have to use the money at that school. So you also want to apply for private scholarships starting now. There's some starting in middle school. Do not wait till your student's admitted. That's a big myth. Because you can use the Coca-Cola money, the Junior League money, the Sir Optimus Eagle Scout money at many, many schools. So together you put together this puzzle of these private scholarships with the institutional aid from this scholarship, and you have a puzzle. So that's a big myth. And that was one of the things I said earlier is don't wait.
So please feel free to stay, eat some food, talk to individually to the panelists. And thanks for coming.
Yeah, we need more videos too. We
Shoot yourself and all that.
well, we did it. Yeah, we